So Kajan, big fight week for you here. I mean, notable opponent who's doing well. You're on a streak. I mean, is this kind of what you have been working towards for a while here?
Yeah, it's like this is the biggest thing that's happened so far in my life. Like, this is the best opponent. Well, I don't really know him versus Martins. You could make an argument either way, but I think that Islam's name's a little bit better just because his record's better. So most people are like, oh, this guy's good because he's got a 1 or an 0 in the loss column, right?
Sure.
People don't know what's going on, but yeah, I think it's a great fight. It's a good matchup for me, and I'm really excited to just go out there and have a dance party,
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like after the last win, you're campaigning for maybe a bigger name, but he has a great record and obviously been doing well. So, how long did it take you to be ultimately satisfied with this fight in terms of maybe not getting a guy that's one of the more well-known names in the promotion?
Well, I think this is going to be a trend that you continue to see. I think the UFC is trying to give me the best opponent that they can with the least amount of name value. I really do, man, because it seems to be a trend, right? Like, I got Martins, and then I got Habilov, who I ended up getting Stevie Ray, who's a bigger name value. So the universe is looking out for me on that one. And now I get Makhachev. So these are 3 guys that nobody really wants to fight because they're really good and nobody knows who they are, except for Russians, right? Like, there's a whole bunch of Russians that are on these guys' backs, but like nobody knows who these guys are, and they're seriously dangerous. They're dangerous than a lot of these guys with a lot of name value. So it is what it is. I welcome the challenge. I'm here to fight anybody. I've never said no to an opponent, and I never will say no to an opponent. Although I would like to get somebody with some name value so people really understand how good I am. But me beating these guys that are so good does speak volumes to all the people that actually understand the martial arts game and really understand who I'm going up against.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to say, because on the flip side, I think the hardcore fans, like the fans that really follow the sport, they know how good these guys are, and they know what it means for you to beat them. So like, you're getting your respect from those sides. But on the other side, I assume to climb the rankings even more, get more money, more exposure. Yeah. There's the names out there that you're not really getting matched up with. So there's kind of 2 sides of the equation there, right?
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. I got to do what I got to do, right? Like, I'm not gonna go back to being who I was pretending to be before, where I wasn't saying anything and I was just like, oh yes, thank you for the fights, I'm happy to be here, there's no problems, I love the UFC. I'm not going to go back to that, and I do love the idea of the UFC, although there's a whole bunch of problems that we're all dealing with and everybody's keeping their mouths shut. And I'm not going to keep my mouth shut. It's not going to happen. I'm going to say what needs to be said. I'm going to say what everybody's thinking. And I'm going to do everything I can in order to organize so that we can all speak through one voice under Project Spearhead. And it may be that I get cut for that, but there's going to be consequences and repercussions for me being cut if they try to illegally cut me like they did Leslie Smith, because that's wrong. That was an illegal action. And the NLRB in Pittsburgh is actually recognized that it was an illegal action, and they went over their heads to DC, and now DC is going to advise on the Pittsburgh decision to see if they're going to continue with the charges that Pittsburgh was going to put forth for that. So there's a lot going on right now legally for the UFC. A lot of people don't really know what's going on in the background, but there's a lot going on in the background, and you can see the tide is going to turn soon. It's only a matter of time.
And with all this going on, I mean, what's it like being here on a fight week for you? I mean, is it as normal as it was maybe your second UFC fight? Do you feel, a different kind of vibe?
I feel at home, man. I feel at peace. Like, I feel like I'm really comfortable. I'm very, very comfortable now. And a lot of it is just the experience, the repetition. I've done it so many times now that it's just like another fight now. It's just another normal fight. It's not like, oh my God, I'm in the UFC. Oh my God, So there's that, and then just because of all the stuff that's going on, it just gives me a lot of excitement. I'm really, really excited for all of the changes that are coming down the pipe, and I'm excited to be a part of it. And I'm also excited that Dana White's here, and it's his birthday. Happy birthday, Dana!
So I mean, you're here. Do you know? You mentioned you feel like you could be cut, stuff like that. Do you think that ties into a loss and kind of why they're giving you these really tough opponents?
Yeah.
It all kind of ties together in your mind.
I think they would love it if I lost. Well, not all of them. Like, the majority of the UFC staff is fucking phenomenal. They've always been so nice to me. They're always amazing people. The people that I get face-to-faces with. Even Sean Shelby, we've got a pretty good understanding and healthy respect for one another. The people that are above them, I don't know. My dealings with Lawrence Epstein weren't the greatest, although by the end of it we had a decent understanding of one another, and I think somewhat of a healthy respect for one another. The people above him, Dana White, I've never had a conversation with Dana White. I have no idea what he thinks of me and of the way that I speak. But it'd be interesting to know. I'd love to sit down with him.
Do you think that happens this week?
I can attempt to try to make it happen, but I don't know if it'll happen. I doubt it. I doubt it. I doubt it. But we'll see.
Okay, and I mean, back to the fight. You know, Makhachev right now, like statistically speaking, he's the least hit guy in this weight class.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of deals in, you know, certain stats. You have to, you know, be in a certain amount of fights and whatnot. But he's kind of proven that kind of dominance and good defense and stuff. So how do you break through that and kind of impose your game plan on this guy? His
defense is really not as much because he is incredible at striking defense. He's incredible at being on top. Right? If you're on top of somebody, it's really it's pretty easy to not get hit for the most part. And so I think that's the majority of why that stat exists, is because he's just on top for so long. Like, if you see the guy's top control, he's so heavy, and he's not really trying to really land hard damage either. He's not like the Khabib style where he's like really like it's scary being under that guy. Makhachev's more like a real dangerous blanket. Like, and that's not a diss. Like, his control-based grappling is extremely threatening because he can easily lay on somebody and throw enough shots that don't really damage you to the point of like a TKO, but they're enough that the ref is going to keep him there, and then he's winning decisions easily over a lot of these high-level grapplers. So I think the majority of his defense is his top control. So obviously I'm trying not to be on the bottom. And I've got a good style in order to do that. But I still have plans for if and when that does happen, because this is 15 minutes we're going to be fighting for. It's pretty likely that at some point he's going to get a hold of me. He's going to breach through distances and footwork, and he's going to get into a place where he can get a grip. And if he can get a grip, real hard to stop this guy's takedowns. Also, my takedown defense is quite good though, and also my jiu-jitsu is very overlooked in this sport because I have fought, because of the types of opponents I've fought. A lot of the times jiu-jitsu wasn't in the plans, right? Jiu-jitsu wasn't in the plans. It was in the plans against Stevie, but I kept getting stood up against Stevie because the ref was annoying, and I hate refs that do this. But I think it might be that he does overlook my jiu-jitsu just because of the lack of proof of my jiu-jitsu game so far through my UFC fights. If you look before my UFC fights, I did a lot of jiu-jitsu. I subbed a lot of guys. Like, I don't know, I have like, I don't know, maybe 14 or 12 or 14 or something submission wins. I don't remember. But yeah, so I think a lot of people overlook my jiu-jitsu. And I think also my fight IQ, like for MMA, my fight IQ is much higher than his. So I think that I will have a couple tricks here and there that are really going to throw him off on the ground as well. And it's going to be really interesting to see how he deals with my approach, because I've fought a lot of guys that are very similar to him. Not exactly like him, but very similar to him. He's never fought anybody like me, Matt. There's not really anybody that is like me. Like, I've created a style that's completely unique to me on purpose. I did it on purpose. and so far it's paying dividends. So it's going to be really interesting to see how he deals with that. I know he's got Josh Thompson, and he had Josh Thompson working with him, who's actually, I fought Josh Thompson in like my first year of fighting way back. I've always wanted the rematch, but I think he's retired now. So I think that was a very smart choice, because Josh is good at switching. He's got a good outside kick game. He doesn't have the reach and the range that I do, but still, even just because a guy can fight both stances, it doesn't mean he does it in the same way as I do. Nobody moves like me, man. Nobody moves like me. Nobody sees the angles in the way that I see the angles. They may know the same angles, but they don't see them in the same way, and they don't have the same variety of weaponry of arsenal. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see how he approaches it.
So you beat a guy like this. I mean, is it hard at this point, just with the position you're in, to like gauge what the future holds? Is there a name you could have in mind, or is it just like go out there win?
I don't know, man.
We'll see what Sunday holds.
It doesn't matter who I call out anyway, unless the only way that I'm getting somebody that I call out is if I set it up. Right, like they were willing to give me Iaquinta at one point, but just time-wise and logistically-wise, we couldn't agree on a date, so it ended up not happening. And now we're kind of like same team, so the beef is like over, so it doesn't really make sense anymore. Anyway, I don't even really care about fighting the guy. Like I would, just because he's ranked number 10 or something like that, but it's not a fight that I'm gonna actively campaign for in the same manner that I would have before. So really, the only way I'm gonna get one of these fights that I ask for is if I do that, go and spend a year or 6 months or whatever poking at the guy and setting it up, getting him to react, and okay, now we have beef. Because I'm never gonna like go and talk shit about a fighter, because that's usually how people create these situations, is they'll go and talk shit about a fighter, and then that fighter is like, and then now we have Twitter beef, and then oh yes, they can fight. Like I'm not gonna do that. I'm sorry. I'm just not. I will do things that may upset the person, but it's never going to be like a direct attack. It's never going to be like, listen, I think you're a piece of shit, like fuck you. I'm not going to do that, you know. I'll make a music video and say that I want to fight you or something like that, and if you react to that, if you're that reactionary, then that will sell the fight. But I haven't done that in a while, and also everybody is doing this. Everybody after that fight, oh, who do you want to fight next? I want to fight this guy. Or I can fight everybody in the world. I just want a top 50. Like, everybody's doing that. So do you think that that's actually going to do something? I don't, personally. And I also just don't like doing everything that everybody else does, which is why I fight completely different than most people fight. Right? It's boring to me, and I don't want to be like everybody else. So yeah, I'm not going to call out anybody. I'm not going to be like, oh, I just want a top 15 guy. Like, will I get in the top 15? Who knows? I don't control the rankings. Journalists control the rankings, but Dana controls the journalists. So like, I don't know, dude. I don't know what's gonna happen. Unless we have an outside sanctioning body and there's an actual structure to this sport, and where, okay, this guy beats this guy, he's gonna end up in this spot. 1 + 1 = 2. Until there's that type of equation, I can't predict anything. I don't know if I'm ever gonna get in the top 15, because there are people that control that top 15, and I say things that those people probably disagree with or dislike or don't want other people to hear. So who knows what's gonna happen? I don't know. I'm just gonna keep beating guys and keep being myself, keep making music videos, and do my thing, you know?